Hi guys, I'm Debbie with Debbie J's Crafting Corner. Today I'm going to be showing you how I am going to be using this card. Yes, just this card. I'm going to be using this card as an inspiration piece to create a drawstring bag using artistry ink. I'm a card maker. That's what I primarily do, but I do like making some additional projects that are more permanent, and that's where sublimation inks, the iron-on inks from Artistry, come in. So we're going to go ahead and create a cute drawstring bag using my regular card making supplies and some Artistry ink. So the blank we're using is this polyester drawstring bag. That's one of the blanks at Artistry ink. And the stamp set that I'm using is the new clear stamp of the month from Spellbinders called Let's Get Together. I live in Florida, so I absolutely loved it when they came out with this one that has a flamingo and tropical plants, and I thought that was just fabulous, so I had to go ahead and make a card. And this is what I came up with. So we've got the flamingo, we've got a bird of paradise, we've got a monstera, some other tropical plants, and another little bird down here at the bottom. And I think that's going to be so cute on the front of my bag. Now the bag is brown, which means we also have to take that into consideration. It's not like it's going to be on white, so the colors won't be quite as bright, but that's okay. So normally the first step that you're going to want to do is you're going to want to trace your blank onto your paper so you know where to put your design. I'm going to do things a little bit different for mine. What I'm going to do is I'm going to stamp this out in my MISTI and then die cut it, because I've also got the dies that go along with it. This is the stamp and die of the month. So I've got a die that's going to cut out my fun flamingos. So I'm going to go ahead and put this right in there. And then I'll stamp down. I think I'm going to actually do two just in case I mess up on one. So I'll put one down right about here. I'm going to be stamping it in the black Artistry ink. And the ink, as it goes down, it's going to look brown. So it's not going to be full coverage. It's not going to be as dark as what it's going to turn out when I put it onto my bag, okay? But I am going to stamp it down a couple of times so that I can make sure that I've got enough of that ink down. Okay, and then I'm going to flip it around and do another one. Okay, and I think that those look great. Now I just need to color them up. So now I'm going to attempt to color these using a watercolor technique that we do with our ink pads a lot when we're making cards. So I'm going to, like, this is the first time I've done this, but I know that you can basically do it with the paints and with the refills for your ink pads. So this should work fine here. So I'm putting a little bit of the green down on my glass mat, and then I'm going to grab a little bit of water. Also get out a paper towel for cleanup, and I'm going to start coloring in some of our, oh, this is working fabulously. I'm going to start coloring in some of the leaves that are on here. And since I've done this before and I've stamped this one before, I know exactly what is what color, right? I think I'm also going to grab a little bit of yellow. For the ones that are in the front, I want those leaves to be a little bit lighter, so I'm going to mix some colors. Yes, you can mix these just like we do with our card making and other craft projects, right? So let's do some of that. So this one is going to be a little bit of a lighter green, although I did start it with some of the darker, but that's okay. It'll still work out. Because you know what? When it comes to things that are in nature, they're not going to be absolutely perfect. They do have variegation of the colors, and I see that all the time, every time I walk out into my yard. Some of these plants here, I actually have in my yard. I live in Florida, and my husband has kind of gotten a little bit crazy with doing everything for the yard. It's like what we do when we're crafting too. It's like we decide we want one thing, and then after a while we change our mind and we like something else. So then you go in and you do something else, right? Lately, we've been going heavily into bamboos. So we've got a lot of bamboos in our yard, but I do have some bird of paradise and some heliconia and the monstera, which is one of the philodendrons, and other philodendrons. So yeah, I loved it when Spellbinders came out with these fun fun leaves and tropical plants over the last couple of months. So I'm just going to take my time and color these in, and I will just speed it up for you guys so you don't have to watch me sit here and do some watercoloring. One thing to note, all of the color you're seeing me put down right now is going to be much more vibrant when I put it onto my project. This is heat reactive, so it's much duller. The colors look duller on the cardstock than what they're going to look like when we put them on the final project. So if you do something like this, don't worry about it too much. Know that your colors are not going to match completely, and it's going to be a little bit of a surprise when you get them all finished up. But I am super excited to see how this is going to look. Yay! So in between each batch of colors, I am cleaning my mat well to make sure that I don't have, so I don't have them mixed together where I don't want them to, and so that I don't accidentally get ink on my hands, because when I do that, I inevitably transfer it to the card where I don't want it. So I just put a little bit of some of the pink down, and we're going to do the flamingo now with it. And I don't know, I might have enough of the pink that looks burgundy, but I might have enough of it to actually do both of my flamingos, so we'll see how that does. Haven't decided if I'm going to go ahead and color the other one at this point or not, but... And one of the cool things is that if you're using a watercolor kind of technique, you can add a little bit of shading in there too. A little bit more water and just mixing it in. You could also do this on watercolor cardstock or watercolor paper. I'm just using some heavyweight regular cardstock, using the cardstock instead of just notebook paper because I want to be able to have a little bit better control and everything of the colors, and wanted to, because the cardstock will absorb it better than the paper will, but you don't really have to. This is something you don't need special paper or anything like that. You can use what you have in your stash. Okay, and now that flamingo's done, and I think I've got enough of the ink left to do the other one, so I'll go ahead and do it too. Okay, now I'm going to pull out the orange so we can start working on our heliconia and our bird of paradise. And I'm going to mix some yellow in with the tufts, that top part on the bird of paradise, just to give it a little bit of variation of color. Okay, so that one's done. Now we have down here, we also have a hibiscus. So I'm going to go ahead and just add some yellow in, and then I'm going to come back in with the orange. Just because I want to, again, I want it to be a little bit more natural. And I think this may wind up being one of my favorite ways to do, if it turns out like I expect. I really hope it does. Anyway, how much you want to bet it's going to wind up being where after I transfer it, most of the detail that I'm doing here now isn't going to show up as much, but I'm having fun playing with it and trying it out. I like blending of colors. That's one reason why one of my favorite ways to do cards is either with alcohol markers or with my watercolor pencils that I can apply with a brush. And like what I'm doing now with using a brush and ink to add all those colors and everything down too. So that's another way. But I like the blending. Okay, so now all we have left is the beaks for each of our birds. So I've got this little, it could be a cockatiel or it could be a parrot. I haven't decided yet, but I'm going to leave him, I'm basically going to leave him white, which is not going to be white on the end project because it is a brown canvas, but this I think is going to still look good. I'm just going to color his little beak the yellow, and it should wind up transferring brighter. And then do the same thing for my flamingo. Let's grab a little bit more ink. There we go. And you can also do this with your markers. I just chose to do it this way so that I could have a little bit more control and have a little bit of a different look than using the markers this time. Because you guys have seen me do the markers quite a bit. Okay, so now that image is done. So next I'm going to be die cutting it out so that we can put it on our bag. Okay, so now I need to trim off the rest of the card because it didn't go, the die didn't go all the way to the edge. This is basically where you can have this on your card as kind of a border. And I think that's kind of cool. So that will be a nice card design, but that's not what I'm doing right now. Right now, we're going to be putting this onto one of those canvas bags. So go ahead and trim this down. Okay, so I want this to be close to the edge on my bag. So I'm going to trim it down so I don't have as much trouble trying to get it all lined up. And just using my paper trimmer for that. So now it's right at the edge of where that color is. Go ahead and trim it at the bottom too. There we go. So that's going to be the image I'm putting onto my bag. So now I just need to get some, oh, that is going to be cool. There's going to be a little bit of a brown border there, but that is fine. So it's going to be a little bit up. Love this. And now I just need to grab some of my heat resistant tape and tape it down. Okay, so I'm going to line that up. I think it looks pretty good about there. I'll go ahead and just tape that down onto my blank with the heat resistant tape. You do want to make sure you're using heat resistant tape and not Scotch tape because, yeah, Scotch tape is not going to work. This is actually going to help. And looking at the bottom, I think I need to move it just a little bit. Okay, we're going to go with it there. Okay, so this is the way I'm leaving it there. That's where I'm going to go. Next, I'm going to take some of the protective paper from Artistry. This is a siliconized paper. You can use butcher paper. Do not use parchment paper. That will not work. This is probably the best route for you to go, though, because because it is siliconized, this is actually what the pros use, and it's going to protect my surfaces. It's going to protect my mat. It is going to protect my heat press that I'm using so that we don't get that ink on there and possibly mess up future projects. So just cut a piece off. You can cut off, I would say you should probably cut off 2. I tend to just do 1 because I like to fold it in half. And this is like the bun of my little sandwich here. So I like putting it in like that. And I'm going to, let's put that off to the side so we don't have the problem with the heat press in it. And I'm going to move it a little bit closer to the edge. So what you need to do for your sandwich is you need to have some of the protective paper on the bottom. Then you've got your blank, then you've got your design, and then you've got another piece of that protective paper. Okay, so now it is time to press it. Whenever you're working with a blank, you do want to check and see what the recommended temperature and time is. I also need to make sure that I have my press up to the edge there. So let's go ahead and press that down. This one we're doing 400 degrees for 45 seconds. And I'm holding it on there flat. I'm also using the protective mat from Artistry to protect my desk. Okay, go ahead and take that off. And now we're going to check this to see how it is. So what you want to do is you want to do a sneak peek first. You want to check and see if it transferred. If it didn't transfer quite right, if you need a little bit more time, something like that, you can repress it if you don't move it. So that's what we're going to check here first. So let's take a quick look. And can you see that? So it looks like it pressed fine. Okay, so let's go ahead and do the full reveal. And I love the way that that turned out. Isn't that just so cute? Oh yes, I am loving it. So now my bag is all done. And yeah, I am so happy with this. You can also, by the way, you have a second side, so you could do another design or a repeat of the first one on the other side. But didn't that just turn out so cute? Love it. Anyway, I would love to see it if you decide to do something similar to this. So be sure that if you do, post it on social media and tag me at hashtag Debbie J's Crafting Corner and do hashtag Artistry so that they can see it too. Because yeah, I know that Ashley at Artistry, absolutely love her. She is the sweetest person. I know that she would love to see all the things that you create. So you guys have a wonderful day and I can't wait to see what you create next. Bye guys.